Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rick, and this is Burn After Reading. This is going to be a short but essential. I've been following the Prosecutors Podcast episodes on the West Memphis Three case, and so far, I'm kind of skeptical. Personally, I suspect they're going to milk it for every last drop of click revenue and sponsorship they can grab. However, their coverage is at least more objective than anything Truth and Justice or Crime Weekly have vomited. I also don't buy into their boast that their coverage will be the most objective of anyone who has ever tackled the case. I mean, they can have that opinion, but I believe it's wrong. Despite their claim, I believe they already know exactly what they're going to conclude in the final episode, whether individually or collectively. But this episode isn't about everything that they've covered so far in the West Memphis Three case. No, it's about a bonus episode that was just released. One of the co-hosts, Brett, interviewed Domini Teer, ex-girlfriend and mother to Damien Echols' child. The interview was off-putting. To me, it was very off-putting, and from what I'm gathering, it came across that way to a lot of other people as well. It was as unnerving as going on a deep dive in a submersible with a pilot making implosion jokes all the way down. And that's just how it felt to me. I wanted to address a few things Domini was flat out wrong about. Two that are extremely significant, and one that's not that big of a deal, but I want to cover it anyway. These are points Brett should have challenged or at least followed up on when speaking with Dominique, but he seemed too far diplomatic to do so. Instead, he just yucked it up with her while she went into weird giggling spells. And perhaps Brett's strategy was to be friendly, just let her talk and say whatever, and then analyze it and call it out in later episodes. I'd like to think that's the goal, but I'm not going to wait around to find out. Instead, I'm going to cover what she factually got wrong and what I think she lied about. And with that said, let's just get on with it. Okay, the one big claim. Damien and Jason are innocent because they were with her at the time of the murders. And so that to her, it's undisputed they're innocent. Thing is, though, facts are a bitch. And the facts conclude, no, they were not with Dominique at the time of the murders. What's particularly odd about her statement is that neither Damien or Jason ever used her as an alibi witness. In a 2010 interview with CNN, Damien Echols himself claimed, and I quote, "At the time the police say the murders took place, I was actually on the phone with 3 different people. The problem was my attorneys never called them to the stand." End quote. And Jason, meanwhile, claimed that he was at Walmart playing Street Fighter 2 or hanging out with Ken Watkins, or was, mowing the lawn at his Uncle Joe's house. Now, according to Dominique, she last saw Damien around 5:30, 6 o'clock p.m. on May 5th, 1993. She then stated that she did not speak with him again until he called her around 10 o'clock p.m. that night. So is Domini inferring that the crimes happened before 5:30 or 6 o'clock p.m.? Because the evidence would reflect otherwise. Michael, Stevie, and Christopher were last seen near the crime scene around 6:30, 6:45 p.m., and several witnesses, including Michael's mother, saw all 3 boys around 6 o'clock p.m. This accounts for a good hour to an hour and a half after Domini last saw Damien. The crime most likely occurred between 6:30 p.m. and 8 o'clock p.m. This time frame allows for Damien to lure the boys deeper into the woods, as recounted by Jesse. It provides time for them to beat and torture the boys, dump them into the ditch bank water, leaving 2 out of the 3 boys to drown. The other most likely bled to death. That occurred, but there could have been also multiple injuries that could have resulted into the death. Also, conceal the children's clothing and shoes in the ditch bank, clean up any visible evidence, and then leave the scene. And crucially, nobody could account for Damien from 5:30, 6 o'clock p.m. to 9:20 p.m., rendering Dominique's statement ludicrous. Out of all the alibis Damien offered, again, he never used Dominique as one. Initially, Damien put forth the Sanders alibi, which quickly dissolved due to various inconsistencies. Later, he staked his entire alibi on speaking to 3 different girls as the murders occurred. But again, we know he wasn't speaking to those girls between 5:30 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Therefore, based on his own logic, the murders would have had to have taken place after 9:20 p.m., which we know is factually untrue, as the scene and surrounding area were already being searched at that point. As for Jason, his alibis were so flimsy that his own defense attorney refused to present them at trial. And while he might have liked to offer up his Uncle Joe, Ken Watkins, or Don Nam as alibi witnesses, guess who he didn't offer up? Can you guess? Come on, I know you're smart. Come on. That's it, Domini. Even Domini herself claimed that she and Damien left Jason and Ken behind at Jason's uncle's house. According to her, the couple then walked to the laundromat. Damien called his mom to pick him up, and they gave Damien a ride back to her trailer, her residence. So, how can she possibly claim that Damien and Jason were with her during the time of the murders when she was dropped off around 5:45 to 6 o'clock p.m.? Her account, like those of many other alibi witnesses for the 3 convicted, simply make no sense. They do not add up. And it goes without saying that the veracity of Dominique's statement, her knowing for a fact that Damien and Jason couldn't have committed the murders because they were with her, is as valid as still believing that the sun revolves around the earth. It's factually inaccurate, and I find it incredibly difficult to believe she is mistaken, given the monumental significance of this event. Let's talk about the other significant claim. The softball confession was a lie. Bullshit. The facts indicate? No, it wasn't, and Domini knows it. On Thursday, May 27th, 1993, at approximately 5:30 or 6 o'clock p.m., Damien Echols, along with Jason Baldwin, Jesse Miss Kelly, Heather Cleet, and several other friends, all showed up at a girls' softball game at the JW Rich Girls Club. During this gathering, Damien was overheard confessing to the murders by several girls. This event would later become known as the softball game confession. At trial, Damien vehemently claimed that these girls were liars and that he never confessed to the murders. However, the evidence would later show that Damien did indeed confess. Years later, in a 2009 affidavit, Heather, Jason Baldwin's girlfriend, corroborated this confession. She wrote that she had heard the commotion caused by Damien's confession, stating that many people began shouting at him, asking if he had killed the boys, a description matching that other girls heard. Heather, however, personally believed Damien was merely trying to draw attention to himself. And while I can understand that perspective, the totality of evidence lends significant weight to this confession. Damien would later, while in prison, concede that he probably did confess at the softball game, but claimed it was a joke. Based on his admission, he clearly lied while testifying under oath, having called the softball girls liars despite knowing full well that he was the one being untruthful. Damien committed perjury on the stand, which, oddly enough, doesn't seem to be a big deal these days, does it? I mean, it's supposed to be, but it just doesn't seem to really mean anything anymore. Just lie on the stand. What do you have to lose, right? So now we know that Dominique's claim that the softball confession never happened is factually inaccurate. People can debate whether Damien was being serious or sadistically joking, but it's no longer debatable. The confession did happen. And Brett and Alice can claim that some of these witnesses are hardly reliable because of age or whatever reason, but I beg to differ. This example at the softball game proves these witnesses' credibility. Which leads me to my next point. Weeks earlier, on May 7th at Skate World, Domini was with Damien, Jason, and Heather. According to 12-year-old Brandy Wilson, she overheard Damien claim he had something to do with the murders. And by this account, Domini would have had to have heard Damien claim responsibility, regardless of whether she felt he was serious or joking. Yet to this day, she has denied ever hearing Damien claim responsibility. And you know what? I highly fucking doubt that. Just my opinion. Based on everything that we know, I just can't believe that's the truth. And what's also interesting, and an interesting data point, is that on the very same day that this happened at the skating rink, before Damien and company went there, Damien was questioned at his trailer by West Memphis Police Lieutenant James Sudbury and juvenile parole officer Steve Jones. And around 4 p.m., Ken Watkins reported having walked around the neighborhood with Damien, during which Damien claimed he was present at the crime scene. So, on the same day, Damien confessed not once, but twice. And if we believe Brandy, but she's 12 years old, so she can't tell the truth, right? According to that, Dominique was present during that confession at the skating rink. And based on the confirmed softball confession, Brandy Wilson's account at Skate World deserves considerable credibility. After all, it was confirmed by a second person that Damien and gang were there, so we can't say, hey, they weren't even there that day, she's making it up. No, they were there. And Damien and Jason's friend, Jason Crosby, he reported to police that he had been at Skate World on May 7th, 1993, and that Damien was with Dominique and Jason was with Heather. And this adds further weight to Brandy's statement as truthful, especially since Crosby claimed something seemed wrong with Jason Baldwin that day. And just a quick tidbit. I wanted to mention, Dominique brought up Inspector Gitchel's infamous 1 out of 10 as a 12 ranking for the case. And, well, he actually said 11, not 12, but that is splitting hairs. What she probably doesn't know, and I won't fault her for this, is that years later, Gitchel walked that ranking back, admitting he probably shouldn't have said it. So if she didn't know then, someone please let her know now. And in conclusion, I want to know, what is Domini Teer hiding? Why is she lying about things that are factually incorrect? And we're not talking about little things here. We're talking about significant things. Author Greg Day actually made 2 valid points. 1. After the convictions of the West Memphis Three, Domini seemingly vanished. There is no record of anyone from the defense ever contacting her post-conviction. Why? Well, to me, the reason is obvious. She had no exculpatory evidence to provide. In the weeks following the murders and the June 9th arrests, she was with Echols constantly. Damien must have said something to her about the night of May 5th. And, I think I just said June 9th. I actually meant to say June 3rd, so forgive me. And two, on May 27th, 2008, Dominique gave a sworn affidavit to Maricopa County, Arizona, affirming that she had told police in 1993, namely on May the 5th, she was with Damien until late afternoon on that day and then spoke with him on the phone at 10 o'clock p.m. that night. She gave no alibi to Damien for the time period that the murders were most likely committed. Yet today, in 2025, she proclaims that she knows they are innocent because Damien and Jason were with her. You see, something isn't right here. I used to believe Dominique was just young and delusional at the time, and she was. But I don't think that's merely the case anymore. I think there's something more significant. She is making deliberate claims that are not true. And that should create pause for everyone, including Brett and Alice. But did it? Hey, I guess we'll find out. So that's it for today. If you felt that something should have been mentioned that I didn't add, leave it in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say. For anyone who wants to learn more about the West Memphis Three case, I have West Memphis 3 for Dummies, which I would highly recommend. I have it in one big episode, but warning, it's over 6 hours. Or if you would rather listen to it in sections, I do have it in parts as well. Just look at my page, look for West Memphis 3 for Dummies, pick your poison, go right into it. Anyways, you know my name, you know the name of this channel, and I'll catch your ass down the road. Have a good one.